2005, right at 6:15 p.m. Councilwoman Bell is present, Vice Mayor Laws is present, Councilwoman Garn is present, and Councilman Ford is present. First item on the agenda is the approval of the November 15, 2005 minutes. A motion for approval?
Move it.
Moved by the Vice Mayor. The second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Ford. Any questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item 2B is the termination of consulting and site management agreement with Cityscape Siting and Management Incorporation and Resolution.
Mr. Mayor and Council, this is a proposal by the city to terminate our current arrangement with Cityscape in regards to the consulting and site management for cell tower sightings. We entered into this agreement a number of years ago when cell towers started coming in and were going to blossom all over the landscape, and what we needed is some way to manage that, and we really didn't have the expertise in-house to do that, so we contracted with Cityscape to do some work and assist us. Since that time, we've had a lot more experience. We also have attorneys that represent us in that area that have somewhat increased since that time, and that expertise that became available to us. And we find that we really no longer need to have this additional consulting service to us. We're capable of handling those contracts as they, or those offers from cell tower people as they come forward.
Is there a motion for approval of the recommendation?
So moved.
Moved by Councilwoman Bell, second by the Vice Mayor. Any question? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item 2C is a discussion on the cable TV franchise.
Mr. Mayor and Council, this in your packet was a letter written by Gary Resnick, and he does have his associate here tonight, Frank Rollin, if you want to speak with him. But in a nutshell, of course, a lot of things are happening in telecommunications businesses, and it appears that the companies coming on board now with the different services, video over internet and other services, are attacking cities' abilities to charge franchise fees, to control their rights-of-ways from which they either dig or place infrastructure in our right-of-ways. They're trying to get both state and federal legislation that would limit the city's ability to control your own right-of-ways and control franchise fees. So what Gary has proposed here, he will be doing, he will be representing a number of people here, including the League of Cities, in defending this in our interests. And what I'm asking for is approval to have Gary represent the city as one of the people involved. The fee is $250 an hour. However, more people that get on to being represented, it's pro rata. So if we had 10 people represented, it'd be $25 an hour. So it's a pretty good bargain for what we have at stake. So I'm recommending that we let.
I'll move it, Mayor.
Moved by Councilwoman Bell, second by Councilwoman Garner. Question? Any comments?
Yes, Mayor. This is very important that we go ahead and tackle this and tackle it early, because it's not good for the local.
The only thing I just would add would be that this is something that we would normally do as part of our city attorney work, but because we're representing the other cities, we really didn't think that it was right to do this at our regular rates. And so we've sort of included you in our coalition, and that way you're going to get the same service, but it's at a much reduced rate. So that's why it's here.
And we like the reduced rate.
Thank you.
Any other comments? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 2D is the lease agreement with Eastern Financial Florida Credit Union, tab 4.
Mr. Mayor and Council, before you, it's our recommendation that we enter into a one-year lease agreement with Eastern Financial. We've had a long time relationship with them, and they're, for people in the audience, they're the financial institution located at the end of the building in that about 100 square foot little area over there that we have. They're a service to not only employees but also to some of the citizens in the area. And their lease is up. We had agreed to enter into a one-year lease agreement with them again. We have a 30-day cancellation. However, the new City Hall scenario is not going to happen within that year. So we wanted to continue business as usual with them
I'll move the recommendation, Mayor.
Moved by Mr. Porter, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Hodge. Any additional questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item 2E is the GOB interlocal agreement.
Mr. Mayor and Council, as y'all are aware, the county secured general obligation bonds, of which municipalities participate in, and we're participating in to the tune of $3.5 million, which we have really put toward the development of Mayor Roscoe Warren Park. It requires us to enter an interlocal agreement to draw down these monies, and what's attached here is you're approving us entering this interlocal agreement that's attached with the county. All municipalities are going to have to do this if they're getting money through the GOB. You also see that our money will come in 3 payments, 05, 06, 07, which should coincide with when we're ready to use them in the development of the park. Even though it won't cover the whole development of the park, it will be.
I'll move it, Mayor.
I'll second it.
Moved by Councilman Porter, second by Councilwoman Bell.
Can I question this, Mayor? This is basically a standard agreement that you have to have. I know we're trying to get interlocal agreements on every other project that we do in conjunction with the county, so this is not uncommon.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
And for the audience, the GOB is the general obligation bonds that were passed by Miami-Dade County voters a couple years ago. Any other comments? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item 2F is the approval of marketing management agreement with Advantage Group of Forwarding Communications.
Mr. Mayor, at this time I'll turn to Mark Cooper-Smith, who has worked on this action here to make that presentation.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, this agreement is the third piece of what we need to go forward and satisfy our grant requirements with the state of Florida. The first piece was the actual grant itself. The second one is the participating party agreement, which council approved last month. This is the piece that defines the arrangement, the working arrangement between AGC and the city of Homestead. It was based on the agreement that we had with LATAM, who was the original partner on the fiber optic ring. There have been some enhancements to this. We think we've made it a bit of a stronger agreement. I'd like to cover a couple of those things if I might. We have defined in here free telecom services to the city, which was not defined before. We've defined in here reduced rate telephone services should we choose to take advantage of AGC's telephone offerings. We have indicated that along with the $500,000 that must be spent for the leverage for the grant satisfaction, there's another $100,000 of deposit that will stay with the city to provide backup money should anything happen. We've put provision in here to actually make ourselves get that money should we need to do it. We think it's a good agreement. Our attorneys were involved in it, staff was involved in it, and we would like to go forward with this to go ahead because as soon as we can, as soon as we pass this, AGC will be in a position to start spending the money, start spending the leverage, and creating the jobs and hiring the people as they have committed to do along with the timeline for doing that.
I'll move it with a question, Mayor.
Moved by Mr. Porter with the question, second by Ms. Bell.
Mr. Stotts, there was at one point in time there was something that was promised in downtown, a hub or something. Is this part of the agreement or is it not in here? Mark, I'm sorry.
Mr. Porter, there is actually nothing in the agreement talking about wireless, although it is in AGC's plan to do wireless. Mr. Boger is here, the president of the company, and he might want to address that issue for you.
Okay, please, thank you. Can you turn that mic on, sir?
Is that better?
Yes, sir.
And my address is 315 North Seagrave, Daytona Beach, Florida. That's for our Florida location, 32114. Merry Christmas to everybody.
Merry Christmas.
The question is, do we plan to put wireless high-speed in the downtown area, and that's always been our goal since day one. I think it's a vital part of our operation. I think it helps with the downtown. In addition, it also helps with some of the underprivileged, the community centers, things like this. We plan to provide those services free to the community. In addition, we will be providing the city with free high-speed internet for something megabits per second per month, unlimited service. So it is certainly our intention. Now, the time frame for this, depending on how quickly we can get busy, will probably take approximately 4 to 6 months because of engineering and spectrum analysis and things that has to be gone through before we can actually offer the service.
So the answer basically is yes.
Question, if I can. Would it be, to you, sir, sorry, come back. Would it be objectionable to you if we add a little note about the, say, the hotspot, the intention to put the Wi-Fi hotspot?
Not at all. As a matter of fact, I'd appreciate it if you would include that.
Well, I'll get Mark to contact you. Work on that if that's okay with Mayor and Council and answer your question.
I think that was the intent.
Include that in the contract.
Asking the question, yes, sir. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Porter. Any other comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Just note that it's subject to that amendment of the contract, please.
Jeff made that motion.
Oh, okay. Item 3A is the purchase of the substation relay panels packages, tab 7.
Mr. Mayor and Council, we're getting into an area now that's your favorite. But usually when I try and explain this, you approve it because I'm putting you to sleep with my effort to explain this. But this is related to our new substations, and it is the relay panel packets that are part of requirements and equipment that go into the substations. Kimco Industries was a low bidder that met specs. They're located in Sanford, Florida, and I think one of the things that helped them with their low bid is their closeness to us. And the total price is $431,000. The total purchase price, $247,000 of that purchase price is eligible for reimbursement through the EDA grant that we have, and that is planned for. And the rest has been budgeted.
Is there a motion for approval? Moved by Councilman Hart, second by Councilman Bell. Any questions?
Just one question, Mayor, I'm sorry. Are we still on timeline, the 100 days? I mean, are we still on the correct time schedule to be able to have these come up before there's really a problem?
We are scheduled to be completed construction July of '06, and I have not heard that we're off of that schedule at this point. You know, we are, as we talked in our briefings, having to change the location a little bit in the park for the Renaissance substation, and we're doing the boundary survey for that now, but we don't think that's going to hold up much because the basic design will fit in that footprint, will fit there as well.
But even with the 100 days, I mean, the timeline on the purchases, it seems like, just want to make sure that we're still on the proper schedule.
As I'm advised, we still are.
Because I'll keep you posted. That's a gray area out there about are we on time or not on time. I mean, there's still unclear. There's been a drop dead date that's been proposed, and there's another drop dead date that may be still out there. So,
hold on a minute. I think Mike wants to say something.
Mr. Porter, council members, actually the reason they are going ahead with purchasing the equipment, so when they start the construction, they will be able to fit it in the schedule. If they were going to issue the contract with the contractor going to purchase the equipment, that will be a reason for delays. That's why. So this is to expedite the process.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Mayor.
When is the projected date that the hospital is going to open and move in, and will this be done before that happens?
That's our plan, Mayor. I think it's fall '06, October, somewhere in that area for the hospital. So we're planning to be up and ready. It's imperative.
4 to 5 months, 3 or 4 months ahead
of time, so we can test it.
No other comments? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Prefabricated control house enclosures, tab 8.
Mr. Mayor, Council, this also is related to...
I'll move recommendation.
Moved by Mr. Porter, second by Ms. Bell.
Almost didn't get it out. All right.
Any questions? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item 3C is the lease termination with Miami-Dade College, license agreement, education endowment pledge agreement.
Mr.
Item
Mayor,
tab 9.
Okay, Mr. Mayor and Council, I'll refer to Marlene, who had the action on this, for explanation.
Excuse me. Mr. Mayor, members of council, staff is recommending entering into the lease termination agreement with Miami-Dade College. There's a history with Harris Field. After the storm, the college built what was called the Wellness Center. They had planned to operate, and then ultimately decided that it would be better if they leased that operation out to the YMCA, because the city had entered into agreements with the YMCA for other portions of Harris Field. Part of this agreement allows us to purchase the building, which is Building 100, consists of approximately 19,467 square foot. It's one of the larger buildings. There's actually 5 buildings, 100, 200, 300, 400, 500 on the premises. We own all the buildings except for Building 100. We have a long-term 40-year lease with the college as it relates to that wellness center. What had happened is the college was interested in disposing of that building, and we're going to talk with the YMCA as far as purchasing that building. When the city found that out, we decided that we didn't want to get into another arrangement like the bowling alley or the other installation on Harris Field, so it would be more advantageous for the city to own that total complex at Harris Field. Part of the negotiations were that the college could not sell less than the assessed value. They had 2 assessments done in 2002, which put the building at $1.4 million. What we finally talked to the college was and had them agree that $1.2 would be the selling price. $200,000 would go into an endowment fund for the employees and their dependents here at the city of Homestead, so that we could increase our current endowment fund that we have there at the college. We have a standing waiting list of employees and dependents that are trying to get scholarships to Miami-Dade Community College, and we felt that this was a very amicable solution to the actual purchase price that the college had requested was $1.4.
I'll move it, Mayor.
So moved by Councilwoman Bell, second by Councilman Hodge.
Question?
Marlene, with the $200,000 going into the endowment, is that matched by their foundation?
No, Mayor, it's, we already have a part endowment fund there, a small remaining from after Hurricane Andrew, so this will increase the endowment that we have with the college. And it will extend for many, many years the opportunity for employees and dependents to attend Miami-Dade Community College.
Any other question, Mr. Porter?
There's no income stream off of this because they lease the property from the city, so there's, what, $1?
We will talk with the YMCA because we will have to renegotiate part of that contract to add this building. The YMCA is very interested in adding air conditioning and some other enhancements to the building because right now it's a large area. It's where the exercise equipment is and the locker rooms, and the locker rooms are not air conditioned. And this would allow them to go ahead with some of the improvements to the building. Additionally, there was some minor damages to the gutter, and Miami-Dade Community College has agreed to repair all damages caused by the storm.
But the college doesn't lease the property from the city, do they, or do they?
No,
tied up in that whole arrangement with the YMCA and...
Yes,
Right after
the
the
storm, the whole storm, it was, lease management agreements that were, negotiated with the college, with the YMCA. This will make it a cleaner operation that the city will own the total parcel, and we will renegotiate that
It's
lease.
very, very positive, and I do think that by the city having control of the building, there is a problem with the ride because people don't use the facility because it is so hot. And the college is not going to put any more money into it because they don't have any need for it. So something needs to move over there to really enhance that whole operation.
Additionally, Councilman Porter, it's not a payment up front, it's a payment structured over 5 years.
That's great.
And we've budgeted that this year out of our impact fund so that we will, the first year, we will upfront the money to fund the endowment fund first.
I'm all in favor of it.
Any other questions, Ms. Bell?
Thank you. Yeah, I also agree with Councilman Porter. I think this is the right thing to do, and we're not in the same type of situation that we were in with the bowling alley, where you own a piece of it but not the whole thing, the land but not the building. And if we have the opportunity to own the whole piece, we absolutely should. And I think it was very good that we spaced this out over 5 years. So I absolutely heartily approve of this.
Thank you.
Any other comments? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item 3D is the repair rotating assembly decanter and resolution.
Mr. Mayor and Council,
Let me see you do this one, Kurt.
it's the old rotating assembly decanter we're talking about again. This is at the, wait till you hear what it does.
I know. You're gonna tell us.
Let's just say it takes the water out of the solids at the solid
Takes the
waste
waste out of the water.
Yeah. So we have two. We need to keep two on site and keep two operating because if one's down, then we back up with sludge, we'll call it. And this will allow us to back up there to continue to treat that sludge.
Mayor, I'll move it. It's sole source.
Second.
Moved by Councilman Garner, second by Councilman Hodge. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Roman numeral 4A, Mr. Porter, safety.
Mayor, you were on such a roll, go ahead, Mr. Manager.
Mr. Porter, Mayor, Council, what we have for you is our staff recommendation that Council approve a mutual aid agreement between the Florida Department of Law Enforcement and the City of Homestead Police Department. This, we have a generic one with FDLE. This one is targeted toward a program called Child Abduction Response Team, or CART. Basically, we would be an addendum to other cities that have signed on with FDLE to enhance and make manpower available in the event of an abduction and subsequent investigation, where they form investigative teams. For example, if we had an abduction of a child and we needed more manpower to help us, especially when the investigation is hot, we can invoke this mutual aid agreement, and then we will have people that are tied on there to come in who are specialists and investigators and form the team. Either we can run the investigation or we can ask FDLE to run the investigation.
Offer motion, Mayor.
Offered by Councilman Hodge, second by Councilwoman Bell.
You took it back already. You gave it to me and you took it right back. I got feelings over here.
I keep forgetting, Mr. President.
Whatever the mayor just said. No, we got a first and a second. Is there any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Thank you, Mayor.
The Vice Mayor made me do that, too.
Good, you get blamed now.
We usually do.
We have two addendums, site lease agreement with Nextel Communications.
Yes, Mr. Mayor and Council, staff is recommending that the resolution here that approves the site agreement between the City of Homestead and Nextel to provide a temporary site, they call it a cow as well, cell on wheels, at the Lucy substation, the extra property we have there, for 180 days with the ability to renew for 180 days We added this as an addendum because by the time we would have gotten back to this in our meetings, we'd lost about $2,500, so we wanted to go ahead and put this forth. They will be looking to relocate with who's the company there? T-Mobile, right?
I'll move it.
Moved by Councilwoman Bales, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilwoman Garner. Any questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The second addendum is the Durham issuance of cease and desist order of the Homestead Quarry.
Yes, Mr. Mayor and Council. I put before you a little bit of a timeline, but I'll go ahead and try to narrate some of this before I get to the timeline. As you know, we have the infamous fill pit, the lake, that we used to have part of the fill at, and we're in a partnership or agreement, management agreement with Redland Construction. We are the permit holders, and we have received a cease and desist letter from Durham for any activity at that site, which is not good.
That's bad.
But here's what we've been able to determine. When we get the permit, there are certain criteria and limits placed upon us to do work at that work done at that fill pit. One of them is depth. Another is not removing fill off the site, which I think that might sound familiar to you, but from that area. But this particular situation deals with the depth of which Redland Company has dug the lake. And it gets a little bit more frustrating as I talk about this, but they have overdug the lake. Now, in the business, and I'm not in that business, but I'm told that that is not uncommon except, for small differences. 3 feet, 4 feet maybe, you can't get it perfect at 52.5 feet. However, they have a reading there in the latest survey, and I'll come back to surveys in a moment, but the survey of 20 feet beyond what they're supposed to dig. And there's sites of 8, 10 that happen, even though they're focusing on that 20-foot group, which is really, they dig east to west on that, go down the line of the lake. And the one that seems to be the most egregious is that last line they did, which really exceeds the depth that they're allowed. How that happens is kind of hard to figure out. But what happened, we had the permit just renewed, in which they did a survey, but they did not do an in-depth survey. I guess it wasn't required by Durham for them to do this in-depth survey because Durham accepted the survey, and they also do water sampling to ensure no salt intrusion. Both of those, and South Florida Water Management accepted those, and our permit was renewed. Shortly after our permit was renewed, Atlantic Civil made a phone call and wanted to enter the site and do their own survey of the lake. Now, as you know, Atlantic Civil is in a litigation scenario with Redland Construction. So we approved for them to go in and let them on site and do their survey. Shortly after that occurred, and unbeknownst to us, Redland Construction did a second survey of the lake in a matrix and a more detailed, and went in and handed themselves up and reported that they had overdug the lake. The closeness of those two are a little bit suspect, but I think that in my mind, but I can't make that judgment right now, but or it may not be in my purview, but the point being is that they for 2 months knew this was the situation. The city was not aware of it. They did not report it to us. They worked just with Durham. And then we, on December 5th, got the cease and desist letter. We met with Durham on Monday and we have Gail out here, it's Rhoda from Weiss Rhoda, that's representing us from the legal side. We had Ed Swaycon, who's our engineer of record, both all our environmental mitigation and the lake scenario, which you can use for resources for asking questions as well. But we've met initially with Durham. Our position is, what do we need to do to fix this? Because there is nothing that can go on in that lake. Although we have some little bit of fill left. I think the impact is that we sold fill to Shores Development. Now Shores Development cannot move fill out at this point. We have a little bit of fill left that we plan on using for the Renaissance substation, which we will not be able to make use of at this time. So this really is a problem beyond just Redland not being able to move their own fill. We don't know that other regulatory agencies may not throw their hat in the ring. We're dealing with Durham right now. We're hoping they'll let Durham handle it at the local level, rather than the Corps of Engineers, for example, come in, or South Florida Water Management come in, and everybody wanting to spank us, as they come in. So we don't know at this point what'll happen there. We're dealing with Durham. In our meeting, I will say Durham was very amenable, because we were. We had to come with our hat in our hand because it's our permit and it's out of whack. So we agreed that just tell us what you want done and we'll do it. Well, Pinky will have to do it. Redland Construction will have to do it. Sorry about that. I think that, when we left there, the two major things in which Ed is working on, Ed Swaycon, our consultant in the engineer record, I'm saying that for the record, getting those titles. We are going to have another survey done independently by the city to verify those readings. We're going to measure the pile that's existing there that we can't move anything off of. But we think one of the remedies may be that they want us to fill back in to the appropriate level. So we want to take the fill that's in that pile to fill back in. We don't know how much it's going to take. Those calculations are going to be done by the surveyor and the firm that Ed gets to do this. If there's enough in the pile to make that cover and still have fill left over, we're going to ask Durham if they're not finished with us, so to speak, where we can go back into and other things have got to occur here. Go back into operation. Before we go back into operation, at least have that fill that if Shores had something come up, that they could at least start initially to take that fill that's already up there, as long as they're guaranteed they have enough to do what they are going to ask us to do. And we don't know if that's the case right now. It's quite clear in my mind after the meeting that Redland Construction is in default of their agreement. And I'm recommending that we send them a letter stating that. I mean, that's the kickoff, so to speak. Send them the letter saying they're default, and that sets into motion some other items. So right now where we are is we've been there, we've talked to Durham. Durham knows the city wants to get this done. We'll take our spanking, whatever we got to do to make it right. We still have to deal with Redland Construction for defaulting on the contract. And I think as we move through this during this next week and the following week, it'll be more clear of where we go with that direction. But I think at a minimum we're going, we need to send that letter a default, because we know there is a default there. So I would at this point be quiet, and if you want to ask questions, we do have both our legal and our engineer available.
No, the costs associated with this, with Mr. Swaycon and our legal, is that a cost we could
We're going to charge
Redland Construction at some point?
That's correct. Okay. We're going to keep a record of those costs to remediate this.
Good. Ms. Bell?
Thank you. This is very serious. This is very, very serious. When you get a letter from Durham, a cease and desist order that basically shuts your gate, it's very, very serious. I have a couple of observations and a couple of comments. Number one, I will say, unfortunately, that I'm not surprised, and because we've had very serious concerns with Redland in the past, and the constant removal of the fill outside of the DRI was one of my primary concerns about a year ago, and so, there's just been concerns. I think a couple of observations. First observation and a question, Kurt. Does council have a copy of the original cease and desist order from Durham? Have you given us a copy of that?
No, and actually, I can do that. I should have attached it. I meant to attach it to this, but we just finished this right before. And I can attach or get in your box a copy of the letter. And I will say that that letter had certain requirements that we had to meet.
Right.
And we've met them. And the major thing was meet with them within 7 days, and that's what we did.
Right.
And I can get a copy of that for you, though.
Right. And I am a little concerned and actually a little upset because I found out about this, not from you, but from outside sources, and that should not happen. That should never happen. This council should not find out about a cease and desist order from a newspaper reporter or from a lobbyist or from any other source. It should come straight from the city manager's office. The minute that letter came to you, I believe it should have come to us. It's very embarrassing to get that information from somebody else, and I have no idea.
Okay, well, I understand what you're saying, and basically, I received it on December 5th.
It was dated November the 29th.
I know, but it's received. I got a stamp. I'll show it to you. It's on there on December 5th into the city manager's office. My take on that, which differs a little bit, but okay, I understand. Is that I have nothing to tell you. We got a cease and desist. You asked me. Something's wrong. What I try to do is put the facts together, make this presentation. I was going to do this memo with a little more verbiage, but I knew since it was on the agenda, we didn't have an opportunity. I wanted to consult with our attorneys. I wanted to consult with Durham, see exactly where we were. Then I can give you a full picture. Now, in terms of the media, I'm not sure where that leaked from. We certainly didn't call the media, and I don't know who else. I don't think Durham would, and I don't know, exactly where that would come from. But it didn't come from here to cause them to call and put anybody on the spot. But your comments are noted.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that, and I'm not trying to, I just really think that council needs to know first before anybody else does. We should know, and in fact, I really think that every one of us should have a copy of that letter sitting on our desk right now. Another thing, I came to you some months back saying, how do we survey this? Do we survey it? And I was under the impression, maybe it was my fault that I misinterpreted. I was under the impression that we surveyed it, that we didn't allow Reverend to survey it, to me that was kind of like the fox guarding the hen house there. I think that was a real conflict of interest to allow the one profiting from the fill to do his own survey. I think that should never happen again, that if we are the permit holder, that it is our primary responsibility to do the survey and not leave that up to the person who's profiting from the fill. I don't think that was wise on our part. Also, as well as other issues, one of the things I've thought about is way back when I was asking you all about the fill and the issue and the original lawsuits and everything else. One of the things I do remember is that we receive a 50-cent per ton royalty on the fill that's excavated from the quarry that was the city's fill, and that was, it's correct. Yes, correct. Okay, now,
that's correct.
My thinking, I could be wrong, but if that fill is being removed far beyond of what, and from my understanding, it's like 26 feet plus, but if that fill is being removed far beyond what we're being paid royalties on, then that means fill was being removed that we weren't being paid royalties on.
Well, the fill that we got the royalty on is what we owned.
And we sold it.
And we sold it. It's not on what anybody else is getting out of there at that point. It only related to the fill that we were selling, either the track or theoretically the Park of Commerce for that. And that was the only...
But do we actually have it? We really don't have a drop-dead date as to when it was over-excavated, we can assume that it was 50 feet or 52 feet a year ago, but whatever it is now, we'll find out for sure. But what I'm saying is that there could have been monies that we were not paid or compensated for based on the over-digging. And maybe, like I said, maybe my take is wrong on that, but because I don't know exactly when the over...
Well, it's done on the quantity actually delivered. Whatever for example, they've overdug that, no doubt about it,
right.
Looking at that. And I think that a couple of things. The survey, yes, Redland's responsible for doing that and conducting that, but what they do is they use an engineer who has a seal,
right.
A professional engineer, that if they don't do that correctly, they're risking their professional license. And that's something we still need to look into as well as part of this, is how did that happen? And I'm sure we'll get some kind of explanation, but of how that happened. I guess that point is what driven home from this point on. We've got a company, and whatever happens, let's put that caveat, whatever happens, but from this point on, we'll have to build in a periodic where we hire somebody at their expense to come and survey it, since evidently they can't be trusted.
Absolutely. Also, I don't think it's any coincidence that they suddenly had a change of heart in a new survey following their own surveyor, the Atlantic Civil Survey. I don't think that anybody voluntarily had a heart suddenly that they were going to tell Durham on themselves. So I think that I agree with your recommendation. I think that we need to direct the attorneys to go forth with the default letter, and I think that we need to just to go forward, put it in the hand of the attorneys, and let them take whatever action with your consent and also with the advisement of counsel. And I would move that.
Moved by Councilman Bell. Is there a second? Second by the Vice Mayor. Any further discussion on this issue?
May I ask a question, Mayor?
Mr. Porter, then the Vice Mayor.
Gail, you've been in this trench for a very, very long time. And, you know, we can sit here and turn it off and then you know, we said it in the last time this was an argument that the issue really, forget the fact that Mr. Munns and Redland have not done the correct things, that they've been caught. Now, they've been caught twice, or maybe more, I don't know. But the problem is there still is a fact that Atlantic Civil and Redland Construction are in a personal feud, and the city's in the middle of that personal feud. So it becomes more highlighted because of that situation. But still, at the end of the day, there is exposure because the lake is not finished as far as being the extraction process. It's been pre-blasted, so there's a considerable amount of fill still in the quarry, or in the pit, so to speak. And to fix the problem and then still be able to continue to extract the fill, is this something that is reasonable to accomplish? To fix the problem and then to continue forward with no regards to whether it's Mr. Munns or any other contractor doing it. I know Mr. Munns and his organization would have to fix the problem, but is there a future for the fill to be moved, assuming that we can fix the problem?
I don't know what Durham is going to require. They are not speaking, they're not telling us yet. They have asked us to have a new survey done, which Mr. Swaycon is arranging to have prepared. We submit the survey and I guess new chloride samples to them, and in the meantime they are researching on their own issues involving salinity levels and water levels, technical issues. And then when they've collected all the data, including our survey, they'll come back, I presume, and sit with us and tell us what they think needs to be done. I don't know what the cure is. I am assuming, or I'm hoping, that there is a way to fix this problem, because the lake is only, if you look at pictures, it looks like it's only half dug. There's a lot more totally unexcavated fill out there.
Is there any exposure to Redland Construction as far as any damages to the city if the problem that they created by over-excavating limits us from doing anything else?
Our agreement with them provides several options. One is we can terminate the agreement. However, we have to give them notice and an opportunity to cure. Now,
excuse me just for a second.
Yes.
Before we get involved in discussing legal strategy.
I agree. I'm sorry. And
I'm not trying to cut off the discussion, but I'm trying to if we could be into a litigation posture here, it's something that we should probably discuss in another forum before we.
My only concern, Richard, is that I agree that Redland has defaulted the contract. The only thing is we've got an asset out there to protect and a vulnerability out there to protect, not just to throw somebody to the curb and then now you've still got this huge problem to deal with. Not suggesting that he stay involved, or his organization stay involved. He has been asked to abide by the rules, and for some reason he has not been able to do such up to this point. But I also think that in the process, whoever was the engineering firm that did the analysis of the depth should also be held to some sort of responsibility, because we certainly would rely on any outside organization to go in and do a survey based on their credibility. So, thank you, Gail. I appreciate your comments. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Mr. Vice Mayor?
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to add that I think that whatever we do needs to be done expeditiously and kept on the forefront. And far from the worst-case scenario, I can envision where our liability, our monetary liability, could be tremendous. Stop me if I'm wrong, but I think when we sold, when the city sold its rights to its remaining fill, it did not shed itself of the obligation to police the contract and keep the permit going. And our buyer, who has made commitments to third parties, is going to look to us, and every day that
on the same line, I just think that this kind of
Don't get the point. Let's go home.
Yeah, again, I'm not trying to be at all, but I just think that this kind of discussion could become back and bite us at some point.
I agree. And my final comment here is, whatever agreement we have with Redland, let's follow it by the letter. Make sure, as Councilwoman Bell said, let's send them a notice of default, and let's proceed as stated in the written agreement. Position ourselves very well. Any other comment?
By the way, before we have the chance to have an executive session on this, certainly feel free to call Gail, one-on-one.
Oh, I will.
To discuss some of these issues that are of concern to you, because I know that that there are concerns here. So please feel free to do that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Councilwoman Bell, we have to vote on anything, right? Just an update.
I had a motion on the floor to proceed.
Move the recommendation of the manager, moved by Councilwoman Bell, second by the Vice Mayor. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
I did have one just a follow-up item on that, which is that we've had requests to get we don't usually send you copies of all correspondence on everything. Is there anybody that would like to get, this is obviously a very sort of hot issue, is there anybody that would like to get copies of all the correspondence on this? I know that Councilman Bell would, anybody else would like to get copies? I just wanted to offer. Okay.
Any non-agenda business, Mr. Manager?
I have one non-agenda item, which I didn't think really rose to the emergency purchase thing. I don't use that too often either. But as you know, with the hurricane, we have the fiber optic line that's above ground. We also have the ring, but separate from that, we have some fiber optic above ground that got damaged during the storm. And we have consulted two companies, and the last one with Precision Contracting, who actually strung the fiber to begin with. There was a spread between $140,000 and $49,000 to repair that fiber optics that had been damaged by the storm. I wanted permission to go ahead and have Precision Contracting to go ahead to move forward, repair that. That should be a FEMA reimbursement to us. However, tonight we just did approve contracting out to AGC, which included the fiber that's damaged. So we want to get that back in shape for them as well.
Is there a motion to approve? Moved by Councilman Hart, second by Councilman Porter. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Any business for the committee to hold? Councilwoman Bell?
Oh, thank you.
Councilman Hodge?
Well, thank you, Mayor.
Vice Mayor?
No, thank you.
Councilwoman Garner?
No, sir.
Councilman Porter?
No, sir, Mayor.
But let me just share with you, on Monday, I'll have Patty to email the new chairmanships for 2006. you should get the email on Monday, and I'll make the public announcement at the council meeting on Monday evening. Thank you all so very much for coming out.